Welcome to Money Talks. I'm Cathy Yang, your intel on the Philippine markets and the economy. In the headlines, Philippine unemployment rate for June is down to 3.7% from 3.9% in May. Benny Luisma, Secretary of the Department of Labor and Employment, and Ruben Paracuellas of Nomura Securities in Singapore join us live. Free e-visa for Filipinos traveling to India soon. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi made the announcement following a bilateral meeting with President Bongbong Marcos. We have a live report from New Delhi in a few minutes. And a consortium is seeking the government's approval on a bundle of public-private partnership deals on 3 of the country's regional airports. We begin with the Philippines' latest job situation. The latest data released by the Philippine Statistics Authority at the top of the hour show fewer Filipinos were unemployed in June compared to the previous month. The unemployment rate fell to 3.7% in June from 3.9% in May, translating to about 1.95 million individuals. However, this figure is still higher than June of last year, where over 1.6 million Filipinos were unemployed. As for underemployment, it fell to 11.4% in June 2025, down from 13.1% in May and 12.1% year-on-year. That's over 5 million underemployed individuals. The country's employment rate inched up to 96.3% from 96.1% in May, with the services sector remaining the top employing sector, accounting for over 61%. With us now for more is Benny Luisma, Secretary of the Department of Labor and Employment. Good to have you on, Sec Benny. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Cathy, and good morning also to all your televiewers.
Okay, so...
And thank you for the opportunity.
And what do you make of the results? June unemployment down 3.7%, and underemployment is also down 11.4%.
Well, Cathy, on the part of the Department of Labor and Employment, we welcome and are inspired more to do better as the President has directed during his SONA last July 28. We were instructed to pursue further and enhance delivery of services along the line of increasing employment for our job seekers and those who are actually part of the unemployed.
Okay, well, talk to us about the details there. Where did we get fewer unemployed individuals and more employed individuals? In which sectors and why?
Actually, what we see from the past surveys, which are actually following through, we see increases in the industry. Part of that would always be in construction after the ban last election, May. I think the construction activities have started also to probably be enhanced and continue to be pursued, no? In line with the Build Better More program of the President. And then we also look at increases in the agricultural sector, although we are unfortunately visited by successive typhoons and last week of July, almost the last week of July, and we continue to reel from this actually devastation brought about by 3 successive typhoons and the habagat, the monsoon. So we continue to actually enhance programs of the Department of Labor and Employment to ensure that we're able to deliver services, especially on enhancing youth employability and women employability too.
Let me pick up on the habagat, Secretary, because there had been a big disruption there. Could it mean job losses in the next reading for July?
Yes, maybe it will have an impact, but as you can see, the department also has launched again its temporary employment program. Maybe we'll see again an uptick in the underemployed, but we look forward to having more quality jobs. I think that's the directive of the President for the department, not simply the Department of Labor and Employment, but also other departments like DTI, DSWD, and other related departments, including the Department of Tourism, Cathy.
Indeed, quality of jobs is really key. But let me take you through the one-off, the seasonals, because some of the economists point out that the improvements that we see are likely because of the temporary election-related hiring and the seasonal gains that we're seeing in tourism and agriculture. So how much of this is true?
Yes, I think that's partly true. We cannot discount that kind of an analysis. I think our economists are really looking at the developments, and I would say they also actually characterized by scientific findings and looking at historical basis. And maybe we can add that in the labor market of the Philippines is always characterized by seasonality, volatility, as well as calamity. So all of these have to be factored in so that we can probably ensure that the growth in employment, the private sector continues to be inspired and actually continue to invest in more quality jobs, more remunerative as well as long-lasting jobs.
Let's pick on youth unemployment, Secretary, because we've seen quite an improvement. If we just pull up the graph there, we can see a great improvement there coming from the global financial crisis. It really went down, so a lot more young people were employed, but then it went up, of course, understandably, because it was the pandemic. But then we've seen it fall, albeit declining, though. Youth unemployment is still stubbornly high. So how are the current programs now targeting the new graduates and the first-time job seekers? And are they keeping pace with the evolving needs of, say, the digital and the green economy?
Cathy, I think we are happier when youth unemployment is quite down because for us we read that as they are actually back in school, back in training, so that they will be more ready to transition from school to work. And we continue to enhance our programs on youth employability. I mentioned this during the POSONA, the special program for the employment of students, our government internship program, our Job Start. And we actually complement this with our career development counseling support program so that we will be able to guide our students, even the first-time job seekers, where opportunities lie. And on the matter of AI, it's the President himself who led a meeting with the private sector so that we can actually align what we do, not only the Department of Labor and Employment, the ICT, the OST, and other related departments, even DepEd, so that we can ensure that work-to-school transition would more or less be smooth, if not totally seamless, so that the youth will be assured of landing a job once they finish their courses, whether it's higher education or actually BOCTEC.
And also giving them the quality of jobs, which we are so in need of. Are we seeing more full-time formal sector jobs or still a rise in part-time low-wage work?
Well, I think we see both. But as far as more permanent jobs are concerned, we are looking at those committed investments which are actually starting to materialize this year. There was a projection that more or less additional 200,000 jobs will be created because of committed investments that are actually being now being put in operation. Some have already been translated into actual jobs. And so we have to pursue. And I think we have to give it the credit to the President because he was so passionate in selling the Philippines as a haven for destination. And so what we can do really is to provide an enabling environment conducive to investment, not just for new investors, but also to those who are already has invested and continue to consider the Philippines as a good place to invest so that more jobs, more quality jobs can be generated.
So as you say, the enabling policies are already in place. How much time before we see a lot more coming to the formal system and having a more stable, qualitative job?
Yes, you're correct, Cathy. Remember, under this administration, the focus on is in doing jobs, is in actually doing business. Also, more or less look at how do you reduce the cost of doing business? Because this has to be considered, both of these have to be considered so that investors can actually have that level of comfort that when they do invest in the Philippines, they will be able to also have a reasonable return of their investments in the Philippines and possibly look at its expansion and growth, which the department will really welcome because this will amount to additional jobs, more secure jobs.
So reducing the gap between unemployment and underemployment rate, how long will it take, Secretary? Do you think that that could be narrowed within this year?
We try to do our best because it's TESDA, who's actually looking at job skills mismatches. But as I mentioned earlier, the seasonality of jobs actually is really characteristic of our labor market. We are now in forthcoming bare months, and we will see an uptick in activities preparatory to the Christmas season, and that means more jobs available. But again, the nature is something that we have to really look into. As far as the Department of Labor and Employment is concerned, we would like to really have more secure jobs, and definitely this will encourage our job seekers to stay in the Philippines and not just opt for overseas employment.
Before the Burr months, there is the August 7 deadline on tariffs. We're buffeted by those trade policies and tensions. How's the labor situation now in our export-oriented sectors like electronics? Are they feeling the early pressure already of the global trade tensions?
As of now, based on information I have, they have not yet actually felt the impact. I think, in fact, we are seeing also some improvements in terms of employment in this sector.
But that's presumably because of the front loading. Do you have any policy or any plan to help them to cushion the impact if and when it comes?
Yes, we do have a program in place. This is what we call the Adjustment Measures Program, which is available to both employers and workers so that we can actually bridge through and try to more or less weather whatever negative impact that this particular item or issue will actually bring about.
Now, this past July, we've seen a 50 peso daily minimum wage increase. It was approved for workers in the National Capital Region. Do you think the hike is absorbable on the part of the NCR-based employers? Or is there a risk of a decline in employment in the region?
That is always something that we are now closely monitoring, Cathy, because I think the regional tripartite wages and productivity boards, despite the calls for its abolition, is actually to us the appropriate mechanism to address the issue of minimum wage. Remember, Cathy, we are only talking about the minimum wage. It is the entry-level wage or the floor wage for unskilled workers. No, we are just making sure that they are protected from being paid unduly low wages. So part of our actually what we do is try to closely monitor the impact on employment. Also, when they do deliberate, the members of the board, which is tripartite in character, workers representative and employers alike, as well as government representatives, they look at indicators. Kasama dyan, included in that particular deliberation would be the impact on the employment level, inflation, as well as the gross domestic product, as well as the possibility and the potential of having increased investment in the countryside. We have to disperse the improvement, economic growth, so that we can be true to what we are saying, that there should be inclusive growth for everybody, and that they need not go. Job seekers need not go to urban centers to be able to find jobs and land better jobs.
So are there plans to raise the minimum wage in other regions in the country?
Yes, as we speak now, Cathy, there are a number of regional tripartite wages and productivity boards conducting activities like public consultations, which will be followed by a public hearing. And then eventually there will be the deliberation of the members of the board. And within the year, we expect that almost all regional tripartite wages and productivity boards will be finished with their process, and that new wage orders can be expected.
Just as a final point, Secretary, labor productivity remains low in many of the sectors, and that includes agriculture, construction, logistics. What are you doing at DOLE to ensure that that gap is removed or at least attenuated?
Cathy, we have an attached agency called the National Wages Productivity Commission. This is actually the commission that oversees the different regional tripartite wages and productivity boards. Maybe not many are aware that other than fixing the minimum wage, our regional tripartite wages and productivity boards are doing productivity improvement activities. So kasama ito, this is part of the mandate of the RTWPBs, and we do the extension of technical assistance, especially to small and micro enterprises, to be able to help them really sustain their growth and probably preserve and enhance employment opportunities.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your insights. Benny Laguesma, the Secretary of the Department of Labor and Employment. The Senate is set to decide today on how it will proceed with the impeachment trial against Vice President Sara Duterte. Some senators say there is no need for a long-drawn debate as the matter is deemed closed with a high court's decision. If it comes to a vote, Senator Bato de la Rosa says the Duterte bloc will be against continuing the trial.
In the first place nga, para sa akin there's no need for debates. Bakit pagdebatihan yan, nagsalita ng Supreme Court Ha? Nagdesisyon ng Supreme Court, bakit magdebate pa tayo? Di ba? Sa akin, hindi ako lawyer, as I've said, pero naniwala ako that nobody is supreme and above the Supreme Court. Except God. Case closed. As far as I am concerned, I am very much inclined to support and obey the decision of the Supreme Court.
Meanwhile, Senator Risa Ontiveros continues to push for the trial to continue. She is expected to ask her colleagues to withhold voting on the matter until the Supreme Court decides on the motion for reconsideration from the House of Representatives. The Supreme Court has ordered VP Duterte and other petitioners to comment on the motion within a non-extendable period of 10 days. The lower chamber wants the High Tribunal to reverse its decision, insisting that their actions in the case were all in accordance with constitutional provisions. SC spokesperson Attorney Camille Ting already said neither the motion for reconsideration nor the required comments will have a bearing on the court's decision, which is immediately executory. You're watching Money Talks. Coming right up, a consortium is pushing for a bundled public-private partnership deal on 3 regional airports. And Yuben Paracuellas of Nomura talks about the country's labor market and economy. Keep it here on One News. back to Money Talks. I'm Cathy Yang. A consortium is seeking the government's approval for a bundled public-private partnership on the country's 3 regional airports. The Philippine Regional Airports Consortium, led by Gokongwei and Gutianan families, proposes a 16 billion peso investment for the upgrade of the airports. That's in exchange for 30-year control in Francisco Bangoy International Airport in Davao and Southern Luzon International Airport in Albay, and a 15-year concession in Siargao Airport. Transportation Secretary Vince Dizon said public-private partnerships like this is the key to maintaining and expanding the airports properly.
They picked it. I guess they feel that the combination of those 3 airports makes sense to them economically and financially. I guess volume-wise, maybe Bicol would be the smallest in terms of volume. But Bicol is also a very well-developed airport. It's brand new. The more difficult one is Siargao, no, because it's small.
Meantime, construction of Siargao Airport's expanded terminal building will begin tomorrow, August 8th, tripling its passenger capacity once completed. The building is expected to accommodate up to 750 passengers in the current capacity of 200. It currently handles 17 flights daily.
It's a very well-designed airport. It was designed by Royal Pineda, who designed Clark as well, and also Mactan. So it's a modular expansion which we feel we can build quickly, maybe within the next 8 months.
The Bureau of Internal Revenue says they could miss their revenue goal once online gambling is totally banned. BIR Commissioner Romeo Lumagi Jr. said they will definitely not achieve a supposed target adjustment if the government seizes online gambling. Several lawmakers is pushing for a total ban of online gambling due to its social impacts on Filipinos. The BIR is currently collecting a 5% franchising fee from gaming operators. BIR collections rose 11.7% to 1.36 trillion pesos in the first half of 2025, according to the Bureau of Treasury. Its collection goal of 3.23 trillion pesos this year remains unchanged. Let's take a quick check on the Philippine markets. Yeah, the PSEI is open this Wednesday. It is slightly higher by less than 0.1%, 6,355. The index closed higher yesterday, Tuesday, by 0.1%, extending its winning streak as investors welcomed easing inflation in July. Let's take a look at the Philippine peso. It opens today a tad stronger, 57.60 to the dollar. Peso closed slightly weaker yesterday, Tuesday, at 57.63 against the greenback. And the 10-year government bond yields ticked down to 6.139% from the previous close of 6.158. Conversations on the economy. We're joined this morning by Yuben Paracueles, Chief ASEAN Economist at Nomura in Singapore. Good to have you back with us, Yuben. Welcome to the program.
Hey, Cathy, good morning. Yeah, nice to be back.
Yeah, I've just been speaking with Secretary Benny Laguesma there of the Labor Department. How are you seeing labor market conditions holding up? Is it still as robust as you stated back in April?
Yeah, it's just based on these numbers, it's definitely on the path of improvement. But I'd say, again, just listening to the Secretary, there are some questions in terms of the sustainability of unemployment staying below 4%. And, I see that as a little bit inconsistent if you look at, for example, the state of the economy. My own estimates suggest that the output gap is already negative. So in other words, total output is below what it would have been if the economy was operating at capacity, right? So there is some excess. And so I would say later in the year, we'll probably see unemployment rates tick up again as soon as the seasonality, fades a little bit. And by the end of the year, my forecast is around 4.2, 4.3 on the unemployment rate.
All right, so given that you do have this sustainability challenge in the way of the labor statistics and the global trade policy uncertainty that we've been facing, what kind of conditions then are we going to see in terms of consumer spending as well as economic growth then?
Yeah, so overall, I think we are on a headline basis growth going to be on a softening patch. Household consumption, I think, is going to hold up a little bit and maybe even improve, again, because we have consumer price inflation is very benign, and that should be boosting purchasing power alongside with some of these improvements in the labor markets that I've talked about. But it's the other components of domestic demand, particularly investment spending, that I think we're going to see some concerns lingering. So we've seen that already in the Q1 number. In fact, I was a little bit surprised how much investment spending actually softened even before all of the news with the global tariff policy. So I think what is telling you is that sentiment has been weak because of the uncertainty, including with the external backdrop, and that's already starting to impact the spending decisions of businesses. And for as long as the uncertainty persists, and I think that's still the case today and probably in the next few quarters, I think you could see businesses continue to be a little bit more cautious.
Yeah, indeed. Private investment is the other sort of a leg there underpinning growth. So what impact then could it have on GDP growth?
Yeah, so for the next few quarters, as I said before, we've already seen it slow quite materially in Q1. I don't expect it to turn around very quickly. It's probably going to be slightly below 5% for the rest of the year, and then linger there for the remaining for the next few quarters. Again, because of the uncertainty that I think businesses don't really like, it's very hard for them to plan when things are changing so dramatically, whether it's on the tariffs, but also domestically when conditions are directly affected, by global factors, including, I'd say, geopolitics as well, which we see from time to time. So in that environment, I think, again, they would probably postpone some of their investment spending plans.
All right. Well, you've already cut your GDP forecast on May 9th from 5.9 to 5.3%. Are you still sticking by that with just 24 hours to go before the second quarter GDP results are out?
Yeah, I think that's still on track. And yeah, my expectation for the Q2 number is around 5.3, so slightly lower than 5.4 because of those factors that I talked about. And further into the year, I've been arguing that I think, with the tariffs that we got at 19%, it's pretty high. It's even higher than Liberation Day levels of 17. So I think what that does is really put a lot of pressure on exports by direct effects, but also indirect effects when all the other major trading partners of the U.S. also face weakening external demand. And so to the extent that we trade with these other trading partners, I think that should also put some pressure on exports. So overall, I would say there's still some risks to that. In fact, I would probably argue that it's going to be still on the downside, especially with the threat of the sectoral tariffs, particularly on electronics. That's it's a major sector for us in terms of exports. So if something is announced in the next few weeks, I think that would put another layer of pressure for that part of our exports.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your insights. You've been Paracuelias of Nomura joining us from Singapore. India has announced electronic visas for Filipino tourists visiting the country will now be free. This comes after a bilateral meeting between President Marcos and India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi. We go now live to mobile journalist Judy Paisa reporting from New Delhi. So what's the latest there, Julie?
Good morning, Cathy. India will grant free e-visa for Filipino tourists. Prime Minister Narendra Modi made the announcement following the bilateral discussion with President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. yesterday. The initiative aims to boost tourism and people-to-people exchanges between the two countries, alongside the resumption of direct flights between India and the Philippines starting October this year.
Julie, just very quickly, what is the agenda on the president's state visit in India? I believe he's going next to Bangalore.
Yes, Kathy, he will go to Bangalore after tomorrow, New Delhi time. So today he is expected to have a roundtable discussion with the CEOs of different companies this morning. May I just add that India and Philippines also signed 13 bilateral agreements in total yesterday. 4 of this aims to enhance our defense cooperation. These are the terms of reference, facilitating military-to-military staff talks between our respective air forces, armies, and navies. Also signed was enhanced maritime cooperation between the India and the Philippine Coast Guard.
All right. Well, thank you so much for the update. See you next in Bangalore then. Judy Baiza reporting live from New Delhi in India. And that is it for Money Talks. I am Cathy Yang. Catch us again tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. here on One News. Have a great day ahead.